live on LinkedIn. Maybe we got to send in the request again, or maybe I got denied because I don't have enough LinkedIn comment. I don't know. But anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Scott Groves, tribe leader and community leader here of the Generate Group. Obviously, this group is just that. It's a group about generating leads, about generating more business, about generating the things in our life that we have to do to kind of get our business back on track. Post COVID-19, post 4th of July, I had my little America flag hat on because it's just coming out of the 4th of July celebration. And look, lots of ways our country can improve, lots of things we can do better, but still, I think a pretty great country with a pretty great foundation that should be celebrated on 4th of July. So we are reviewing this book, Lead Generate, 61 Days to Double Your Pay. I'm kind of fond of the author because that's me. And of course, we want the Generate Group here to be a place where you can ask questions with, really no judgment, no solicitation, no ulterior motive, just on anything that you have questions on as far as, marketing, generating leads, sales, tactics, managing your day. I'm super excited that later today, we're going to have Juliana Ray on. We're going to interview her, and she is world-class at basically keeping our psyche in line and mindfulness exercises, meditation, things that will help you center yourself, get back on track, and maybe stay out of the fray of all of this craziness when you want to, right? When you want to jump in and have some commentary on what's going on in society, or when you've got work to do, or when you have to be on social media, maybe for business or for pleasure, that's fine. Tune in and do your thing. But when you want to detach, I think that's where a lot of people have challenges. When you want to detach, when you want to get away from the noise and you want to kind of silence your brain and silence your head, what do? We're going to go over some of those tips, tactics. Highly recommend you jump on live this afternoon with Juliana Ray because she's going to talk all about how do we get that noise out of our head. So let me get some bubbly water here, and then I'll get to the chapter in the book. So we are actually on day 43, cruising right along. We got a couple of weeks left. And the title of this chapter is Know Your Audience and Focus on It for a Year, for a year. And there's that old saying where like people dramatically underestimate what they can do in 10 years and they dramatically overestimate what they can accomplish in a year. I think salespeople work on a little bit faster timeline. So if you generate a lead or you're fully commissioned or you make sales, you probably overestimate what you can do in a month when you're like, oh, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to lead generate. I'm going to double my pay in a month. That's probably not enough time, but you probably grossly underestimate the market that you can serve and you can build and what you can do in a year, right? For example, I grossly overestimated the interaction that we would have in this group within the first month, right? I was like, oh, we got a couple thousand people in here. It's going to be the greatest place to share information. But it's like, no. I overestimated the interaction, but I'm probably underestimating the momentum that we can get over the course of a year, right? So if you're watching this, do me a favor, go into the Generate group and leave a comment, ask a question, get to know somebody, add somebody to the group who is a fully commissioned employee or has to sell something or generate a lead or a relationship for a living, because here's what I wrote in this chapter. Every year, there are a half dozen top conferences in the mortgage space, the real estate space, the life insurance space. And every year, I hear people come back, insurance agents, realtors, loan officers, and they say, oh, this demographic of referral sources are driving me nuts. I'm going to switch over here to this demographic of referral sources, right? And the classic one with loan officers is like, oh man, these realtors are so demanding and the buyers have been shopping for 2 years and they won't pull the trigger on making an offer. I'm going to switch my whole business model and I'm going to go to financial planners or divorce attorneys. And I'm only going to get, referrals from financial planners because they have a more long-standing professional relationship with their client. So therefore their client listens to anything that they say that they'll do. And that's just kind of the business for me, right? If that's the case, great, go do it. But the reality is I hear this over and over and over again as a coach, year after year. I'm going to switch my whole business model. I'm done with these realtors and these buyers. And the number of professionals, the number of loan officers who follow through with that threat and say, oh yeah, I'm going to totally abandon my current book of business, my current, process of lead generation, and I'm going to go all in on this other demographic. That might last for a week or a month or maybe 2 months. But again, we underestimate the time that it takes to get momentum going, and we overestimate what we can do right now immediately to switch our whole business plan. So what I wrote here is, if you do want to radically change your business, right? If something's not working, or you're burnt out, or you just don't like working with a certain demographic or referral sources anymore because of kind of their professional interaction, or where they're at in their career, or where you're at in your career, okay, great, do it. But don't leave a stream of revenue behind, right? Like no man left behind, no stream of revenue left behind. If you already have a book of business in, I'll use the lender example because that's what I'm most familiar with. But if you already have a book of business with, direct to consumers, your book of business, your database, or you have a stream of income with realtor referrals, or if you have a stream of income with friends and family who buy a lot of houses, like, don't leave that behind. Just pick one day a week, committed one day a week for a year, where you're going to try to build a new business stream, right? So if you're running a CrossFit gym and you've got kind of your core book of business, but they're kind of in and out of their fitness, maybe they're not super committed to it long term, maybe they don't have their big goal, and you say, well, I own this CrossFit gym and I know that paramedics, firemen, police officers, sheriffs, they have to stay fit as part of their normal course of business and their career, and for the longevity of their career. So I'm going to ignore all my clients and I'm going to go all in on trying to attract, first responders, firemen, sheriffs, cops to become CrossFit athletes. Okay, not a bad idea. Okay, maybe even a great idea. But most people underestimate the book of business that they can grow immediately. So don't ignore, in this hypothetical situation where the CrossFit gym owner, don't ignore the existing clients you have, the existing book of business you have, the existing revenue you have. Just pick one day a week where you're going to do outreach to that specific demographic, right? Maybe you learn how to advertise on Facebook locally to the people that are in that demographic. Maybe you go become a sponsor or something of the local fireman union and try to befriend many of these people. Maybe you come up with some marketing campaign where you give out a free month of CrossFit coaching to this cross section of people who you're trying to invite into your gym. There's nothing wrong with finding new areas, new verticals, new ways of generating revenue. But what I do get concerned about for individuals that have to generate leads is when they do start to get serious about lead generation and they start to get motivated, there's this tendency to be like, oh, well, this is a whole new me. I've got this whole new outlet. I'm going to ignore this other source of business that's been feeding me for a month or a year or a decade or entire career, and I'm going to focus over here. And that's a real danger in kind of starting something new, right? You don't want to leave revenue behind. So those are my thoughts for today. If you're looking for a new vertical of business, post it here. Maybe we can help you find some marketing ideas, or find somebody in the group who's an expert in that vertical. Maybe you work in selling health insurance or auto insurance, and you're like, I'd really like to break into this segment or this market. Ask the question here in Facebook in this group on where you're looking for growth and looking for additional verticals of lead sources. And maybe somebody here is an expert in that field and can give you some feedback that'll help you out. So that's all I got for you today. Scott Grove's Generate Group. Do me a favor. I'm going to continue to do this, and we're going to get through the 61 days, and I'm going to continue to pour energy in this group. But I like to know that this is not just a one-way conversation. Actually, it'd be a zero-way conversation if it's me and myself. So if you could just leave a comment, ask a question, click the like button, maybe start a watch party if you know somebody who's looking for a new vertical stream of business but doesn't want to get completely sidetracked. Let's have that conversation here. Scott Groves from the Generate